There's no damage between our vehicles, though.
I don't give a bro, you
Disabled veteran Charles Donner and his wife Brittany were driving behind Arkansas State Police Trooper Ryan Wingo in Hot Springs, Arkansas, when Trooper Wingo made a sudden U-turn to attempt to pursue a vehicle traveling the opposite direction that was allegedly speeding. Mr. Donner honked his horn at Trooper Wingo, and Trooper Wingo responded by making a full 360-degree turn, passing another vehicle and pulling behind Mr. Donner with his lights flashing. When Mr. Donner pulled to the right side of the road and stopped his vehicle, Trooper Wingo crashed into him with his cruiser.
Pull into the parking lot. Pull into the parking lot.
Why are you pulling me over?
Because you were following me too closely and nearly ran into me.
No, I did not. You slammed on your brakes. You had no brake. You had no turn signal or nothing.
I had to turn around on the car without speeding. I'm doing my job out here, sir. Give me your license.
You hit me. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll see you in court, dude. Get on, look at my car.
Hey, take a seat in the car for right now. We're on a traffic stop right now. Okay?
You hit my car.
We're on a traffic stop right now.
Out here.
I want to see the damage done to my vehicle.
Give me a minute. We're on a traffic stop right now. Once I get done with my traffic stop, we're following too closely.
I was not following too close. Clearly you were. You hit me.
You stopped in the middle of a roadway, sir.
No, you
I didn't stop. I got over and I was in the lane.
You
trying
stopped
to
in the
speed
lane.
back up. No, I was
you
trying to
canceled
speed
the-
back up.
Okay,
and you
sir.
slammed on your gas.
Okay.
And you hit us.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I told you why I stopped you because you were following me too closely.
But I wasn't. But
Okay.
We'll see in court.
Okay. Do you have an ID on you, ma'am?
I sure do.
You don't need her ID.
Yes, I do actually for the accident report that you so want, sir.
Yes.
I do want it.
Okay.
You f***ing hit me.
There's no damage between our vehicles, though.
I don't
Well,
give a f***, bro. You f***ing hit me.
Get out of the car.
Trooper Wingo rips open Mr. Donner's door, orders him to exit the vehicle, and places him under arrest for disorderly conduct. Not only was Mr. Donner's conduct not likely to cause a public disturbance, as he was only speaking to Trooper Wingo, but profanity is protected speech under the First Amendment, and citizens cannot be arrested for simply using curse words.
You're under arrest for disorderly conduct, sir.
Ooh.
Come on. Until you can calm down.
Okay.
Ma'am, there was no need for cussing me out.
I had severe PTSD. Severe. He's a 100% disabled veteran, and he is fucking. That's why I'm here.
You gonna talk to me? You gonna let me talk, or you just gonna interrupt me the entire time, ma'am?
I'm sorry.
Okay. You gonna calm down? Or you gonna continue cussing?
I just want your badge number and your name.
Because that was that. You're gonna say sure, then I'm not gonna have you sit out here and cuss
Plead the
me for no
fifth.
reason. There's no fit to. You're not incriminating yourself, sir.
Here, Trooper Wingo tells Mr. Donner that he doesn't need to invoke his right to silence because he's not being asked incriminating questions. However, the Fifth Amendment applies to a much broader range of interrogation than blatantly incriminating questions. It is reasonable for an individual to fear that answering police questions might incriminate them.
Because you hit our car. That's why he was upset. Was because you hit us.
The driver in the back seat started cussing me out, and I had to calm. I'm trying to have a calm down back seat.
But everything's good to go.
Yeah. He just wants to yell and cuss me for no reason, so I got him out and put the handcuffs on the back seat of the car.
You're good?
Yeah. Okay.
Trooper Wingo recounts his version of events to a fellow trooper who responded to the scene, which is wildly different from what the dash and cab cams show actually occurred. First, Trooper Wingo claims that Mr. Donner was following him too closely, but the cab footage shows that Mr. Donner left plenty of distance between the two vehicles while Trooper Wingo was driving in front of him. Trooper Wingo also alleges that he had not activated his emergency lights when Mr. Donner stopped his vehicle, but the cab cam also shows that he did in fact turn on his emergency lights before the collision occurred. Finally, Trooper Wingo insists that Mr. Donner stopped in the middle of the road when Mr. Donner had clearly pulled into the right lane to yield to the police vehicle.
Look, Dave, you see these cars, you see the flag, you see the marking. Our U-turns are legal when we're going out of the highway. It doesn't make any difference. And what you did, slamming on your brakes. I didn't slam on my brakes. That's his word. That's not my wife. That's fine. I didn't slam on my brakes, so. Here's another video. Wait, it's all being recorded for 1 minute.
Trooper Wingo eventually released Mr. Donner without charging him with disorderly conduct and issued him a citation for following too closely and parking on a highway. Because of the traumatic experience they had with Trooper Wingo, the Donners decided not to fight these charges and paid the $330 fine. The couple recently decided to retain an attorney to pursue a civil rights lawsuit against Trooper Wingo. Overall, Trooper Wingo gets an F for causing a crash by recklessly operating his patrol vehicle, intentionally misrepresenting the facts of the encounter to justify his actions, and for violating Mr. Donner's First and Fourth Amendment rights by arresting him for his speech. Mr. Donner gets an A for remaining relatively calm and collected throughout the encounter, verbally invoking his right to remain silent, and for maintaining a reasonable balance between challenging the conduct of the troopers and complying with their commands.
Are you pulling me over?
Miss Maddie's first mistake is instinctively removing her seatbelt. Miss Maddie acknowledges her mistake to the officer.
I just took my seatbelt off as a habit.
May I see your license, please?
Yeah, I just took this off, just so you know. I wasn't driving without a habit. Huh?
That's the reason you're being stopped.
No, I just took it off. I swear to God, it's habit. Yeah. I wasn't speeding.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. The reason you're being stopped today because you can have the seatbelt on.
No, I just took it off. I swear to God, I have a camera.
May I see your license,
I have a
please?
camera. I can play it for you. Because it's habit. When I stop the car and put it in park, I take it off.
Miss Maddie is attempting to be honest with the officer, but the officer takes advantage of her honesty and considers it an admission of guilt. It is important to never give an officer more information than is absolutely necessary, and Miss Maddie's quick defense only served to arm the officer with reasonable suspicion.
Is this your car?
Yeah.
What do you have to get tagged on?
Because my husband owns a dealership.
Okay. So, does that mean you can just put dealer tags on any vehicle that you own?
No, we're going to sell it.
Dealer tags are usually whenever
Yes.
for a dealer or if they're showing the vehicle. But
Yeah.
It's just neither of the
It's
not neither case right now, correct?
According to the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles website, a dealer tag can in fact be used by the dealer's family or employees for personal use.
Of course, I'm driving it, so I have to have insurance on it and stuff.
Okay. You said this is your car. I asked you if this is your vehicle. And you said yes. But there shouldn't be a reason why you should have a dealer tag on there just because your husband
Well,
owns a
right
dealership.
now I'm driving it, so it's not like...
The officer left the scene without issuing Miss Maddie any citations. The next video also centers around an officer's misinterpretation of the law and perfectly demonstrates the accountability a dashcam offers when officers are uncooperative and misinformed.
It's still sprinkling. Copy.
What agency are you identified with?
President Police Department, Officer Lamelli. The reason we're stopping you is you've got yellow lights to the front. You can't modify the lighting equipment that the vehicle comes with. It's got to be, can't alter it. You have your license and registration?
I do.
California Vehicle Code 25950 clearly states that emitted light from all lamps and reflectors visible from in front of a vehicle can be white or yellow.
I've been cited for this before and was not guilty of anything when I went to court. Got the money back, got paperwork for it. There's what I cited for. There's the refund check.
Okay. That's fine.
And this
I know
vehicle,
what,
this vehicle code right here says they can be white or yellow right here.
yeah, it's not that section there. That just applies to lights. Your headlights are white. That's what the dealership, they install white lights to the front. There you go.
Well, this includes headlights here. It says the light emitted from all lamps and the reflected light from all reflectors visible from the front of a vehicle shall be white or yellow.
Yeah. Well, if they're yellow, it alters it. Yellow light is not the same as white
You're
light.
saying I altered them. I didn't alter anything.
What's that?
You're saying I altered them.
When you buy it, you're required to maintain your vehicle up to California standards. Give me 1 sec, all right?
All right.
My partner says everything checks out good, so you're good. I'll give you a warning. Just, you're saying you're trying to take care of it?
Actually, I'm not. I'd rather leave them that way. I really believe that they're lawful. I went to court on it. I checked with the Sergeant Chandler here at this district. I checked with the watch commander at CHP, and I really, truly believe that they're lawful. If you've taken the time out to stop me for this. If you want to cite me for it, I'd like to get a citation for it so that I can make sure that it's documented properly.
Okay.
So if you can cite me for a vehicle code that's relevant to these headlights, I'd like that. Because if I'm not going to be cited for it, this is a complete waste of time. It's a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights to travel freely.
While it could be argued that this stop is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, Officer Lamelli genuinely believes that Mr. Trabajan is committing a violation and most likely would not be held accountable for his actions.
So,
Can I please have the citation so I can be on my way?
You're free to go now.
I'd like a citation, otherwise this is
I'm giving you a verbal warning.
Okay, I'd like an apology for the violation of my rights from being unlawfully detained here for this amount of time.
You're not being unlawfully detained.
So am I free to go?
A warning.
Am I free to go?
Headlights. Yes, you are.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, drive safely. Watch your speed too.
Mr. Trabajan leaves the scene without being issued a ticket, but with enough evidence to make a case for harassment and negligence in a courtroom thanks to his dash cam. Mr. Trabajan later noted that he would not be pursuing legal action against the department or Officer Lamelli.
I'm asking you to obey the law.
I am obeying the law.
No, you are not. You do not have a reasonable, articulable suspicion. What is your reasonable, articulable suspicion that I have committed, will commit, or about to commit a crime? No, sir, I'm not.
On June 4th, 2021, an unidentified individual, who we will call Mr. Bill, was sitting in his vehicle in a residential neighborhood in East Tennessee while playing a GPS-based game. Corporal Gallo of the Blount County Sheriff's Department approached Mr. Bill's vehicle and began to question him about what he was doing.
We've had thefts in the community, okay? And you don't live here.
Do you have a reasonable suspicion?
The reasonable suspicion is that the possibility that you could be a thief in this area.
I have explained to you what I'm doing.
I want to know who I'm dealing with. You could be an axe murderer. Okay?
So could you?
Yeah, no, not in my uniform.
Yes,
I'm
you
at
could.
work. No.
No. There have been plenty of cases where officers have broken the law.
Okay.
Let's not pretend. Nobody is perfect.
I'm not breaking the law. I'm asking you for so you can show me your identity, and I can walk away from here and give you your identification right back to you, and we'll be done.
Am I being detained, or am I free to go?
You're not being detained. You can leave if you want to, yes.
Okay. But if I'm free to go, I'm free to stay.
No, you're not free to stay.
As the United States recognizes, the freedom to loiter for innocent purposes is part of the liberty protected by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. We have expressly identified this right to remove from one place to another, according to inclination, as an attribute of personal liberty protected by the Constitution.
You do not have a reasonable, articulable suspicion. What is your reasonable, articulable suspicion that I have committed, will commit, or about to commit a crime? No, sir, I'm not.
Now you're in violation of traffic law. On top of being in a neighborhood where you don't live. You live on Ridge Street, right?
Which traffic law am I in violation of, sir?
You're violation of registration right now.
How so?
Because this is on a white minivan and the tag comes back to a green car.
Well, I can't. That's what we were issued. But if I'm in violation, please issue me a citation.
Let me see your registration, proof of insurance, and ID.
I understand that,
okay.
But what does my ID have to do with making sure the area is safe?
Okay.
Is the area any more safer now that you've identified me?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you how.
Okay.
This area, now that I have your ID, the area, if something does happen, something could happen, there's a possibility of a already known suspect now that was in the area prior to anything happening. So if something happens tonight or the next day or something like that, who's the strange people in the area? That would be you, okay?
In the 2007 case of U.S. versus Wilson, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals held that because, quote, there is nothing about being seated in a car which is itself suspicious. The fact that a person is seated in a vehicle does not create a different test. Instead, it is, quote, simply a relevant consideration under the totality of the circumstances. However, Corporal Gallo's argument that he needed to identify Mr. Bill based on the possibility of a future crime occurring does not seem to comport with the Terry stop framework.
Sitting on the side of the road is not suspicion of a crime.
Yes,
this is a road. What crime is sitting on a public road?
Anybody in this subdivision?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Okay. Why aren't you sitting in front of their house?
Because I already sat in front of their house. I explained to you this is a GPS game. You understand GPS, I know.
I understand GPS, and I understand people doing all these games. But if you want to be
hard with me as far as
I'm not trying to be hard. I want you to obey the law.
I am doing the law.
No, you as a corporal.
Is my duty. I'm glad you know my job better than I do.
I don't know your job better than you do, but I do know the statute for identify. I was not committing
the statute for identifying yourself is anybody over the age of 18 has to have a document in their possession of who they are. I can ask for your identification at any given time.
Sure, you can ask for it, but I'm not legally required to give it to you.
It's important to note that officers can always request that an individual provide their identification consensually without violating the Constitution, but can only order an individual to provide ID under certain circumstances. Tennessee law only allows officers to demand identification when issuing a citation or civil warrant, and officers in any state can only constitutionally order individuals to identify themselves if they have a reasonable suspicion that the individual is involved in criminal activity.
I'm going to ask you.
Are you asking me or ordering me?
I'm asking you to leave there.
Are you asking me or ordering me?
I'm asking you to leave there.
If you are ordering me, I will leave. If you are asking me, I would stay. I'd like to stay.
I'm ordering you to leave there.
Thank you very much. I will certainly leave.
After Corporal Gallo ordered Mr. Bill to leave, Mr. Bill complied and drove away. Overall, Corporal Gallo gets an F for displaying a fundamental misunderstanding of reasonable suspicion, blatantly misinterpreting the identification laws of his state, and for forcing Mr. Bill to leave a place that he was within his rights to be. Mr. Bill gets an A+ for challenging the officer's assertions without becoming overly aggressive, maintaining a calm and collected demeanor throughout the interaction, and for peacefully complying with the officer's lawful orders.